Hello and welcome. I am so glad you're here. I'm Beth, a creator-based coach with CMH Coaching for Life. I'm here today to help you and those you love create a life you feel grounded and at home in. Think of a life where you feel peace, love for those around you, and in a flow with just enough challenge to keep you happy and creating something wonderful. Sounds like magic, but it's not. You can create that life every single day. You can have a life full of love, excitement, hope, and creation. Our mission at CMH Coaching is to flood the earth with light through compassion, mindfulness, and hope. And I'm going to ask a favor of you. If you like what you see and hear today, think of someone you know that would enjoy and benefit from this message. Our mission is to flood the world with compassion, mindfulness, and hope. Share this with them. But for now, this is time just for you. So settle into whatever you're doing and enjoy this time with the girls, where we create that one awesome, amazing, perfect life every one of us is seeking.
You gotta watch your thinking. Watch your thinking. Watch your thinking.
We're talking about hope for the very last week. And Jaycine has bravely offered to be our guinea pig.
Woo!
Yeah,
You know what?
Go ahead.
It's so cool to have the opportunity and kind of know that you're going to be the one sharing, because you get a lot of time to reflect, and reflection is so powerful and so cathartic and so painful and so. But
it's so cleansing. It's the cathartic that I just love. You know, you dig in there and you feel like somebody just kind of twisted the knife, but then the knife comes out and you've got this open spot and it feels so good.
Yes.
Assuming you're not gushing. Okay.
Ooh, yeah.
According to who?
I love the feeling of having things open again, where things were all clogged up and not moving, you know, and when you've been through it. And we'll all share. You're not really the guinea pig. I just had to tease you a little bit about it.
No, but yeah, I am prepared. So I've been doing a lot of thinking about hope. And, you know, we started this month talking about our hopes as a child and, you know, how that progressed. And I have grandchildren that are young, and I've got some that are preteen, and I have one that's a teen. And it's interesting to have the opportunity to talk to each of them and listen to their hopes, you know.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah, just kind of interview them. Well, they don't know it's an interview, but
yes.
Granny's just being nosy.
Yeah. So Jet, you're 6. Sit down. I'm going to interview you. No, that's not how it went.
Well, I want to hear what you learned as you talk to them.
Yeah. So, man, as a 6-year-old, I mean, the hopes are, I hope I can have dessert after dinner tonight because I was a really good boy, right? So,
I hope I get to ride my skateboard today.
Yeah. Those hopes. And, you know, for a 6-year-old, that's a true hope, right?
Yeah.
I hope that it snows tomorrow so I don't have to go to school again, you know?
Yes.
That was my 9-year-old's hope, you know? It'd be great if I didn't have to go to school. You know, my 11-year-old, she's an old soul. You know, her hopes are very outward driven. So my hope is that my dad gets this client that he's been hoping for a long time.
Aww.
Yeah. So
beautiful outward energy.
Yeah. Or my hope is that my mom is going to do really good on her test that I know she's been studying for. So that was a really cool, you know, she's 11. And so it was neat to listen to her hopes. And then the hope with my teenage granddaughter is that she gets to hang out with her friends this weekend, and that, this guy is gonna ask her to dance at the church dance, and
I love that hope.
right?
For those hopes.
Don't you guys remember like those kinds of hopes? Yeah. Yeah. And it is just interesting and refreshing to go back to those hopes and remember them. And yeah, and how it kind of prepares us for the hopes that we have as an adult. I think we have to have those hopes as a child where, some of them are met, some of them aren't met. Sometimes we're disappointed because our hopes aren't met. And that happens when we're a kid and a teenager. And, I remember waiting by the phone, hoping that this cute guy was going to call, and or hoping that one of my dumb brothers wouldn't answer the phone and totally ruin it for me. Like, just be stupid.
Yep, scare him off.
Right? Oh, yeah. Yeah. So you have all those hopes. And then, so I was married at a really young age. I got married at 18 and, yeah. And
all right.
Yeah. So I had pen palled this really handsome guy that I saw his picture in the church lobby while he was on his mission, and I got his address and started writing him. Yeah. So pen palled, and we got married early. When he got home, he was 4 years older than I was. And, I didn't want to have kids for about 5 years. So I was on the pill, and wow, about, 9 months into it, I start not feeling well.
Yep.
And I was, yeah, big surprise. And I started off really with a bad attitude about it. And as I got into it, and you can hear the heartbeat, and it starts, and the little flutter starts, it starts to become real. Yeah. And, that hope of, I wonder if it's a boy, or I wonder if I hope it's a girl because I have all these brothers.
Yes.
My little sister, gosh, she was probably 5 when I was pregnant with Brandon. And, just the hopes that you have, as you have this child in your womb, what do you?
Well, you kind of with the hopes, you kind of make a prediction. You have all of these predictions that you're making, that you're kind of living out in your mind for that child, right? Yeah, all the things you think they'll do. Yeah, it builds that hope.
Yeah. And what your life's going to be like as a family. And, I had this perception, happily ever after, once I get married, I live happily ever after. Once I have a child, I'll live happily ever after. Yeah. And so fast forward into the pregnancy, I start having contractions early on. And, I don't know that's what they are. I'm almost 20. I'm 19 and a half.
Right.
And
you've never been pregnant before.
No, I don't know that. I've watched my mom be pregnant. And so anyway, I'm working, and I'm at work one day, and my boss is watching me, and he's like, I think you need to go home or go see the doctor.
Your boss? Wow.
I'm fine. And he said, I'm working for a dentist, and I was doing orthodontia at the time. And he's watching me as I'm like working on these kids. You are not having this baby. And it's a month early, right? It's like 30 days.
So you had it in your head, this can't be anything because will come for another month.
No. So I go to my husband is out of town on business in Seattle. So about 4 hours away from where we lived. Mm-hmm. And so I went home, rested for a bit, and my mom was having I don't even remember the name of the toys, but it doesn't matter. But she was doing this
Discovery
toy thing.
toys.
Discovery toy. She was
Discovery
doing
toys. My sister sold those. I got those.
right? Oh, great toys. Loved them.
Yeah.
So I go that night to this Discovery toy party. I think it's like 7:00. And I'm at the toy party with a bunch of women. And interestingly enough, my dad is watching me and he's like timing me.
Oh my goodness.
And he's the one that came up to me and said, I think you're going to be having a baby tonight. Your contractions are this far apart. And it was interesting that it was my dad, but I think we as women were all so busy and doing what we were doing. And his focus was not on the toys. It was on his baby girl, right?
Right.
My daughter.
Yeah.
So he gets off, tries to get, it's before cell phones, right? So we're trying to get a hold of my husband to tell him to meet us at the hospital. We go to the hospital, and in my mind, I'm still in denial. No, it's fine. It's false labor, because I learned about that in the class, right?
Right. It's a fact. I learned it in class.
Yeah, no, these are Braxton Hicks. This is not labor,
Right. If it were labor, I would be screaming.
Oh my gosh. So I'm literally in the hospital. My dad's there, my mom's there, and then my boss shows up. Oh, wow. He's like, well, he's like, well, you're just like a second daughter. I had to just check in on you. And I'm like, Jack, leave. I don't need you here, right?
Yeah. I'm not having a baby, right?
I'm not having a baby. They're going to send me home. And
I'm seeing an interesting thing to figure into hope with all of this. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean,
I had my hope plan another way. And was not a part of that.
I did not even have my bag ready. I was supposed to have a bag. I was supposed to have the baby's bed ready. We were in the middle of getting ready to move. No, right. It's not.
No, we're not doing this. Yeah. I have my hopes pinned somewhere entirely different.
But yeah, inside you're kind of hopeful, right? Like, oh, is this really going to happen? Amazing. And somehow, I don't even know how Marty found out, who got a hold of him. I was busy. I was a little busy at the time. But he ended up getting to the hospital, and my doctor came in and checked me, and he's like, well, let's look at stopping labor. It's a little bit early for you to be having this baby, and I'm a little concerned because it is so early, and he's, according to my calculations, he's pretty small, or the baby is small. Mm-hmm. So, and those became serious words. The levity left. Yeah. And the seriousness of what was about to happen started seeping in. And I remember him going away, and I don't know how long it was. But my dad, since Jack was there, said, let's give you a blessing. I want to bless you. And so my dad gave me a blessing, which is something that happens in our church. And it gave peace to my heart that everything was going to be fine, and just kind of calmed my nerves. And still I'm going, it's too early. We're not going to have this baby.
Yeah, this isn't going to happen.
My water hasn't broke. I mean, none of that. Right. And my doctor comes in and he said, we're going to proceed with this birth. You're going to you're going to have this baby tonight. And
oh goodness.
Okay, here we go. And just not very long after he said that, my water broke and we were in labor.
Yeah.
So, after having Brandon, I get to hold him, and they take him away to do the tests and make sure things are okay. And doctors working on me, and they don't bring him back. And they don't bring him back.
Oh.
And my husband's not in the room with me, and the doctor is done with me, the nurses are done with me, and I'm in my
Where's
room
the
alone.
baby?
Yeah. No baby. Where's my baby? What's going on?
Right.
And you have that instinct that says there's something wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was. So shortly after Brandon was born, they transported him about almost 45 minutes away to the Children's Hospital up at OHSU. And his lungs weren't developed. He was having problems breathing. His bilirubin count was down, and he was barely over 5 pounds.
Yeah.
When he was born. And so I remember,
there's your struggle to feel hopeful, isn't it?
that was my struggle. And I felt guilt. Number one, I felt guilt. I'm being punished because I didn't want him at first.
Yeah. Because I had those thoughts. Am I being cursed because I were punished because I had those thoughts?
Because I had those thoughts.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, it doesn't work that way. Keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And so as you go through that process, going up to the prenatal NICU, and you have to gown up and have a mask, and he can't even have a toy, and I can't breastfeed him, and I can't hold him. It's just, that's where the hope comes in, the hope and the prayer. And I can't do anything without prayer and hoping that things are going to be okay. Right. And so he comes home, he's strong. I love it. And again, I'm on the pill and I get pregnant again.
Girlfriend.
That doesn't work for you, right?
Number two, no, clearly the Lord had other intentions, because I was that 1%. Yeah.
No.
And, again, this pregnancy was not an easy pregnancy. And the birth was very similar, except he was 6 weeks premature.
Mm-hmm.
And when we took Tyler to when they air flighted Tyler to the hospital, his heart, he had fluid on his lungs, and his heart wasn't working properly. And he was 4 pounds, 3 ounces.
Oh, God.
And I knew this. So I'd been through this before, right? And I'm like, okay, I still have hope.
Right. You had seen it work in the past, and
yes.
so you have that to draw on.
Yes. And so going up there, it was different though. When I got to the NICU, there were more serious issues happening, and going in and seeing your newborn baby.
Yep.
They put bands around his. He was a strong little guy. He still is a strong guy. He's not a little guy anymore. He's a strong guy. But they had to put bands around his hands and diaper pin them to the bed, because he kept trying to pull out the tubes. Yes.
Yep.
Oh, he had tubes coming out of his chest, out of his head. They had shaved his head, and
so much to see. So hard for your mama heart.
It was very traumatic. I remember at one point going up to see him, because there wasn't a Ronald McDonald House at the time. And so it was a trip there and a trip home. And then I'm worrying about my 14-month-old son that I have to farm out to somebody.
Right.
Because I have a baby in the hospital.
Right.
And there were times when I did lose hope. And there was one time I remember thinking, I was sitting at home and I was trying to formulate a plan on how I could kidnap my son,
Gonna rescue him.
Yes, he'd be so better off if he were home with me. And then you realize, yeah, not so much. Not so much.
Yeah, but that's just that incredible desire to take care of your child,
It is.
So how did you keep your hope going during that time? Because clearly he had a rough start. How did you hold on to the hope to bring him home?
I think a lot of that comes from that personal belief that God is there, that
Mm-hmm.
there is a God, and that he hears my prayers and answers my prayers.
Mm-hmm.
And I could hope that Tyler was going to be okay and that he'd come home and grow. And I remember writing in my journal and asking God to just please let him be okay. And let me have the opportunity to raise him here on earth, and let me have the opportunity to be a good mom and prove that I could be a good mom, even though, again, I had wanted a girl. I even had a girl name, didn't have a boy name picked out. And we did an ultrasound because I was having so many contractions pre-birth. And it was about, I don't know, maybe about 2 or 3 weeks before Tyler was born that I found out he was a boy. And I just cried and cried and cried. And so again, right, here's the guilt.
Yep.
You were not happy that he's a boy and you're being punished, right? So
You're the storyteller.
oh man, all of those things just like rush in, and you learn to have hope through adversity. You learn to have hope, even though, I mean, those were really hard struggles, but the hardest struggle was yet to come, only 2 years after Tyler's birth. And that hardest struggle had to do with my marriage. I'd only been married for 4 years, and my marriage was falling apart. It was, man, I was 23 years old, like 22, not even 23 years old. I'm 22 years old, and I've got 2 babies, and my marriage is falling apart, and I'm doing anything and everything to hang on to it. Although I did realize that there were abusive tendencies, not tendencies, I'll call it, there was abuse going on.
Right.
A lot of verbal and mental abuse happening, and some shades of physical abuse at that time. And I remember, just praying and asking that God could intervene and that he could, somehow repair this. But it takes 2 people to make that happen. And so we sent, my husband had some really good friends in Kansas City that he had helped bring to Jesus Christ. And so just this wonderful family. And we thought, wow, if I could just have him go and hang out with Evie and Rick, this is exactly what he needs, so that he can get his head on straight, so that he can understand that he's got a family that needs him, that loves him. And so somehow we came up with the money. Our finances were falling apart. I mean, you have 2 preemie babies, and
the bills were incredible.
Medical bills were incredible. Everything was on credit. Everything. It was just all, our glass house, our card house was crashing down, right? The foundation was not so great. And so he went to Kansas, and was going great when he was with Evie and Rick, but he reconnected with a girl that he had known while he was there, and left Evie and Rick's house and went to her house to stay with her.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I had been through, there's so much to the story, but he had invited a homeless family to be in our home earlier that year, that the father was very dangerous and was a sex offender. And so I had acquired a gun while Marty was gone, just to protect my kids. I just said, I don't know what this guy, I know what this guy is capable of, and I don't want any hope. And so I had a gun in my possession, which was really not normal. in my house at that time. And Marty calls me from this girl's house and tells me, yeah, I don't think I want to be married to you anymore. And proceeds to tell me everything that's wrong with me and that I'm a failure and that, you know, everything, it lies on me. And I had a breakdown before where my 3-year-old son found me rocking in the kitchen, just in fetal position, just sobbing from the verbal abuse. And so I had been worked on for quite a while, not feeling, feeling less than, and feeling not even less than, feeling like nothing. And this was a final blow. This is somebody that I had wanted to spend my whole life with, my eternity with, that I had 2 children with, that
All of your hopes and dreams on this
everything.
one thing. Yeah, you're everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
And I didn't know. This was probably the darkest moment of my whole life. And I didn't want to live. I lost my will to live.
Yeah.
And I knew I had a gun.
Oh, Jaycine.
I knew I had a gun, and I knew that I shot when I was younger, lived on a farm. You shoot stuff when you're on a farm.
Yeah.
I know how to do it. Like, this world would be so much better without me. My kids would be so much better without me. And that was a time that I think that I lost all hope. All hope. And I don't know where my children were at that. I have no recollection of where they were at that time. But I do remember that those memories of my kids both fighting for their lives.
Yeah.
Both fighting for their lives to stay on this earth. And the hope that I had that they would live. And those things were preparatory, because I know that God knew I was going to go through this.
Yep.
And he knew that I needed to remember those times of hope. And I needed to find something to hang on to. And have the courage to call a friend. And so I called my boss, actually, he and his wife. Said, this is because I didn't want to call my parents. I didn't want to call my brothers. I didn't want to. Yeah, I didn't want that. But I called Jack and Janet, and they came and helped me through a lot. But there are times when things feel dark and you feel like there's no reason why. And the world would be better off without me. And that sucks. And it's such a freaking lie.
Huge lie. Huge lie. So looking back at your 23-year-old self that went through all of those things now, from the viewpoint of now, what would you say to her?
Man, I would thank her. I would just thank her for her courage, for her ability to connect the dots, and her openness to listen and use the skills that she already had for hope, right? Those skills that I developed as a kid to just continue hope even when things didn't go my way, that it was going to be okay. Yeah, and just thank her.
That's some incredible strength. Yeah, indomitable, right?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Because that was totally different from what you expected it to be. And it was totally different experience from what you were led to believe when you were growing up. So, as all of that shifted for you, how did you reconcile continuing to have hope, even though it was so different from everything you had been taught to believe or everything you expected? How did you move from there to here?
Again, I have really good prayer knees. So
Got calluses there, do you?
I got calluses
You have a
on my knees.
creator that knows you well and will teach you.
Absolutely. So he's the one that never lets me down, even though sometimes his the thoughts that come to my mind that I know are from him don't make a lot of sense. But I can go back to those times when I did listen to him and know that I can trust him always, even when it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I can trust him because I built up those hope muscles, right?
Yeah.
I built those up. Yeah.
Well, and we studied earlier in the month, and I would be willing to bet that you used these and you didn't even know that you were using them. But we talked about how hope was a cognitive process. And that after you bottomed out in those moments that Jack needed to come with his wife and, support for a while, you needed that support from the people around you, that you probably implemented some of those cognitive choices that you didn't even realize you were doing. Jenn, are you in a place you can kind of share some of those cognitive choices that we make for hope? And we can kind of examine and see, maybe Jaycine, maybe some of it would ring true to you.
Well, I think just that making the choice to reach out to your boss.
Yes, to reach out for support
is an action of hope, because somewhere within you knew that that's where help was at. So I think that's like, I think that led part of like that thought process, that hope, reaching out, because there would be a rescue, or there would be a help there. And I was thinking, as you were talking about this and like kind of just comparing some of my own things in my own life, I just kind of wonder sometimes, just, is there something just innate in us that just keeps us moving? It's just like, I wonder is there something also just within us that just says, I'm just really not ready to completely give up yet.
Right.
Yeah. It's like there's the inner pilot light. There's that little light that's still in there, that's still going. Even though everything is dark, the pilot light is still there. So,
I don't know. I was just really thinking about your experience. And I think that was probably your first steps, that led you into, and then I don't know what it looked like after. And I would be really curious to see if you just kind of, I don't know, existed for a while and then started to have some thoughts of forward motion, of like planning, okay, well, I've got these 2 kids that rely on me now, hoping for a better life for them. I mean, I just don't know. I don't know what your thought process would be. Interesting to understand. I mean, I know you journal, so it'd be interesting to go back and read and see if you can't pick out your hope thoughts or your hope, the things that led you on to move forward.
I think journaling, I can tell you 100% that journaling was huge for me, because I didn't want to tell my family. I didn't want them to know, because again, I had hope that things would work out,
that they would resolve. Yeah.
That they would be fine. But in that journaling, there were a lot of truth statements. So I had over and over again, Marty said this to me. He said that I can't take care of my children. But the truth is, which is really interesting. So very, very innate in or a gift that I was given in my character, to be able to say, no, that's a lie. That's not true.
Well, there's so much innate power in truth. And for you to write it down, I mean, not just to articulate it, but write it down. I'll bet you even said it out loud.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
And you created the hope to move forward with that power of truth. Wow, that's cool.
I kind of like in my head looking at how when there's a disintegration of one big hope and dream, kind of in no man's land. We don't know what to expect. It's desolate. We think everything is over.
It's all lost.
And then you start to try and figure out, where do I go from here? If you don't give up hope. I mean, if you don't give up. I mean, if you give up, then it's just, that's done. But so I think your whole journaling experience, I think, was just hope in action. You were trying to figure it out, and you were speaking, like she said, truth to those lies. You know, so, you know, hope is also action, leads us to action.
It is baby steps, right? Hope is baby steps. And I'll bet you had a bunch of baby steps you did.
Yeah. And, you know, there were a lot of face down in the arena moments.
There's that. That's right.
I get it. You know, we have to have those, you know. Yeah.
And I'll bet there was a lot of failing upward.
Yes.
Right? Yes. Failing forward. Yep.
There was. And there was a lot of times when, you know, my why was pretty big.
Yeah.
My why was pretty big. I know I go back sometimes and I wonder, would I have had the courage? Would I have stayed in that type of relationship longer had I not had my two boys? You know, they were my why too. It wasn't about me. It was about, they are not going to grow up like this. They are not going to watch their mother be a victim. They're not going to, I knew this, I had studied the statistics. I knew that stuff. So that was, they're going to have a better life. And they have.
From what I know, they've grown to be amazing men.
Right there, there's hope for a better life for them. I mean, like, I'm so amazed at you, Jaycine. I'm just sitting here just in awe.
So great. So great. Well, can I speak to that moment, that bottoming out moment of surrender? Just a little bit. I'm reading this book, The Perfectionist's Guide to Losing Control. And if I had the author, I'd tell you, but I'll post it. It's just wonderful. But she talks about surrender, the ultimate loss of control. But she also talks about surrender as the greatest form of power. And it made me wonder, when I was listening to you, if when you were at that moment of complete bottomed out, that surrender moment, if that wasn't your most powerful moment also, as you reached out to Jack and made that decision to stay. She says, the greatest form of power, surrendering is not conceding to defeat. Surrendering is conceding to potentialities beyond your imagining. The only way to go is up. To surrender is to affirm that you are not alone. When you surrender, you acknowledge that there is a force other than you at work. And you saw that over and over and over again, right?
Absolutely.
And because that force exists and you also exist, connecting to that force is possible. To surrender is to invite that connection forward. Yeah. And that's hope, right? When we invite that connection forward, we have created hope. Yeah. So beautiful. Thank you so much for your willingness to share.
You know, there are a couple songs that come to my mind, and I remember while I was going through this part, because I'm such a music person, I just actually feel like I need to share this with those out there that connect with music. There were two songs that really helped me. There's one song by Michael McLean called You're Not Alone.
Oh, I love that one.
That song, I played that over and over and over again. So it became that voice in my head. When I had other voices that were coming at me that were not true, because that was true. And then I had been in a musical when I was a kid, just as an extra, and the musical was Carousel. And the song was When You Walk Through a Storm. And
that one.
Oh my gosh, just the words to that, when you walk through the storm.
Don't be afraid of the dark.
Yes. And those two songs rang true. And I think that when we keep pouring the good stuff in, that those things are what help us find the courage and get through and have hope. And because we have that innate ability, the creator inside us has that innate ability to recognize truth and light. And that's what keeps us going, right?
Amen.
That's the stuff that keeps us going.
Yeah, that light moving forward. Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's talk
You're
about
welcome.
what's coming forward. What more light we have coming. Tomorrow we have Coaching Clear. Always brings lots of light into the week. And so we'd love to invite people to that. And then Wednesday, 1:30 Central, we have book club. How's that going? Are you seeing some light generated? What's going on with that?
Yeah, we started a discussion about mutant messages down under. And I love,
Oh, there it is.
Jen, I hope you can join us this week.
I will be able to.
Oh, good. Because it's so funny. I love our book club because we have such a diverse group, and we have some people that think very linear, and our person that thinks very linear was like, well, I'm just having a really hard time getting my head wrapped around this because I don't know how could this be true and if it's what, so anyway, it was really fun.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah. So
well, that's the color of the conversation. That makes it so fun. So great. Yeah.
It does. So we're going to finish up that book. It was a short book. So we'll be done with it this week. And then our next book that we're moving on to, I'm so excited. It's Brene Brown, Atlas of the Heart.
Oh, I love that book.
Yes. So
yes,
really,
that is
really
a beautiful book.
Yes,
I have to say, that book, though, you have to get the original hardback because it is an art that is beautiful.
Yeah, the art in it is amazing.
It's another part of the experience because she actually does talk about some of the art in it to help you understand emotion.
Well, and even the feel of the pages in that book is wonderful.
Some of them are like
paper and the ink and the choice. Everything about the book is fantastic.
It's sitting out on my coffee table because it's so beautiful. My husband bought it for me for Christmas. It is an art. It is a piece of art.
Beautiful.
Oh, I'm so glad we're doing it. Yay.
Well, and what a perfect way to start our April study, because this finishes our hope study for March, but April, in embracing the creator-based way, and along that theme, it supports us when we embrace the creator-based way in building our one awesome, amazing, perfect life. And so we're going to talk about all the way through April. We're going to talk about perfect, not in the sense of flawless, however.
I know.
We're going to talk about your one amazing, perfect life. And we're going to talk a little bit about something called maladaptive perfection. There are no bad perfectionists. Let me just pop your bubble now. No bad perfectionists. Perfectionism is not bad. Pop it, pop it, pop it. Maladaptive perfectionism, or there's adaptive perfectionism. Just like anything in the world, there's maladaptive and there's adaptive, right? You don't want to take it to an extreme where it's going to be maladaptive, but when it's adaptive, that harnesses the passion that's inside of you to create and to do and to make that life. And so we're going to talk about perfectionists, maybe, and you might identify by the end of the month if you are a classic perfectionist or a messy perfectionist or a Parisian perfectionist or a procrastinator perfectionist or an intense perfectionist. Or maybe, since we all have parts, we have little parts of all of those inside of me. I realized as I was reading, I have a very loud, intense perfectionist. And it's a very strong inner critic part for me. But we're going to spend the whole month talking about perfect in all of its beautiful shapes, sizes, and forms. So I'm really excited, and how that pertains to the creator-based way. And then we have also, to kick off the month, our emotions and essential oils class. And Jen, you want to talk about that for a minute?
Yes. It's going to be a workshop of discovery of, I'm going to kind of introduce essential oils and how they can help us with our emotions, whether we want to create something or we want to shift a mood or a feeling, something we're experiencing. And I'll give you a little bit of like the history of how the essential oils, how they have a personality. Each of them kind of have this personality. And so, yeah, it'll
I'm
be
really
basic.
looking forward to
We'll have fun. If you have any oils, bring them. But if you don't have to have oils to attend the workshop.
No, just come enjoy the time. Yeah, and it'll be on Zoom, 9 a.m. on the 8th of April. Not the 1st, even though the 1st is the first Saturday. It's too early in the month. We're doing it on the 8th. There's 5 Saturdays in the month, we can take the second one. So we are all looking forward to that. It's going to be lovely. Lots and lots of things to hope for. Lots and lots of good things coming. And we are all going to have a perfect spring. I can't wait.
I can't wait till it starts. It'd be great.
No, yeah, that's true.
Are you still buried
in my house today?
It has been snowing off and on for the past 3 days.
Oh, sweetie. Spring is coming.
It's coming.
Get your hope going.
But my pansies, they're out.
Yeah, they don't snow. They're okay.
They are.
Just remember all the past winters that led into spring. Your hope is it's coming. It's coming. All right. So till next time, we'll see everybody next Monday, 3:00 for a good podcast recording and a creator-based week. See you soon. Bye.
Bye, guys.
I can choose to be happy, choose to be free, moment by moment. It's all up to me, 'cause what I think about, I bring about. That's the way it is, and there is no doubt. Day by day, I pave the way with every little thought I think.
Hey, thanks for joining us today in A Creator-Based Life. I hope you felt that compassion, mindfulness, and hope you came seeking today. You can find more of it at cmhcoaching.com or on linktree/cmhcoaching. Of course, any social media outlet, we're there too. Because you felt the benefit and light in this message, please invite those you care deeply about to join us. Help us to create a ripple effect across the globe of compassion, mindfulness, and hope. Then we can create a creator-based life together. Have a great week, y'all. We'll talk to you soon.
Choose to be free, moment by moment. It's all up to me, 'cause what I think about, I bring about. That's the way it is, and there is no doubt. Day by day, I pave the way with every little thought I think. Day by day, I pave the way with every little thought I think.